Hey, this feels extra. Oh, my candles. I was wondering why it felt so dark in here. Let me light my candles. Where is my lighter? Oh no, they are lit. Oh my gosh, I am tripping. So my candles are lit. It's still just super dark. Hold on. Why does this seem so dark today? I'm gonna move over a little bit here. There we go. I'm so silly. The brightness on my screen was turned all the way down. And now I can see myself better, but I'm not sure how bright this looks on your side. In any case, welcome. Tonight, this is part 3 of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And doing this without my glasses today. I have hair color on right now. So you can see it looks like super wild. It's so funny, at the end of summer when my hair was red, I thought to myself, you know what, I think for winter I want to go back to blonde with blonde eyebrows, because I'm still looking for a good braider in the area. Normally in winter out here, I wear my hair braided because it gets so rainy and misty. But my braider that I've been going to for like 5 years, I'm going to her for like 5 years, and all of a sudden she just started doing a really poor job. Like, I've been braided by her so many times, you know, tip really well. She moved to a different shop, which was cool, right? But I went into her to go get my hair braided. This was like back in end of March, like beginning of April. And even though I had said, you know, several times, like, hey, like, you're braiding way too tight. Like, this is not fun. This is not good. She loosened up, you know, her pressure a little bit or her pull, like her grip a little bit when she was braiding. But still, like, I had bald spots around my hairline. Like, literally bald spots around my hairline. And it's always hard for me to kind of gauge, you know, anything that's like pain related. I have a pretty high pain tolerance. So anything that's pain related, it's, you know, just tough for me to gauge. And I was like, okay, this is horrible. So I took out like a bunch of the braids around my hairline because I didn't want to lose any more hair. And I had one of the assistants in the shop do the touch-up. It's really hard finding braiders in Seattle. Like, it's kind of a black hair desert, if that makes sense. Like, it's hard finding braiders, it's hard finding stylists, like, and it's so strange coming from Northern California, because, I mean, honestly, in Northern California, you can go to, like, anybody's shop and you will come out looking freaking laid. Like, there have been times where I've been, you know, California, when I'd be in, like, a friend's neighborhood or whatever, and I'm like, oh man, like, I need, you know, like a press or whatever. Like, you can walk into a shop and be like, hey, I need you to do this, and they hook it up, right? Hook it up. But it's like, out here, not only are the prices like twice as much, but the of the work is like half as good. So I've been trying to find women that have like nice braids out here and ask them like, hey, who does your hair? And normally it's like, oh, you know, my sister, oh, my cousin, oh, but they only braid like family's hair, oh, they don't have a shop, this and this and this, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess that leaves me in the dark. But anyways, got on that side tangent here. But yeah, I wanted to go back blonde for winter, and I just got this wild feeling. I'm like, you know what? I want to do like super like box hair color, black style, like blue black, like. So I'm actually pretty excited. I'm using another hair color brand, Arctic Fox. I use temporary hair color when I go. I use temporary hair color a lot. I don't really like box hair color, but I use it's kind of temporary, so it can fade out or whatever. And I want it to just be super flat black. And as I was like washing out my bowls and stuff, when I was all done putting it on, it was like the water turned the most beautiful, like deepest blue color. It's called Transylvania something or other, Arctic Fox, and I'm actually really excited about it. But it stains, man. It's like I put all the petroleum jelly and stuff on the outside, like the Aquaphor or whatever, and it was literally on there for a minute, 2 minutes, and I already have like stains. So I don't think this is ever like this might be my ends forever. I don't think it's gonna fade. I have to shave my head after this, which I really don't want to do again. The last time I shaved my head was in October of 22. October of 22, I think, was when I started. No, it had to have been July of, yeah, it was right before my that road trip to Oregon. But yeah, shaved my head in July of 22, and I told myself I'm never shaving my head again, because like the in-between phase is so awkward. And now I'm finally at a place where like I have you know, an okay-ish looking bob after absolutely murdering my hair with bleach for six, 7 months. After murdering my hair with bleach for 6 or 7 months and like cutting a bunch of that off, and I don't know. I love talking about hair. It's one of my favorite things. I was thinking about actually, like, once I kind of rinse this out and check out how it looks, doing like cutting my bangs shorter. It's like right now they're like pop, 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 and they're kind of those like not layered, but like piecey. They're like piecey bangs. And I know this is a horrible idea. I know I'm gonna instantly regret it, but hair is so fun. I was thinking about doing like Lydia bangs from Beetlejuice, like this super like, oh. It's such a mistake. But it'll be fun for like a week, right? In any case, because I have this hair color in my hair, I'm going to try and do this without my glasses. So we'll see how this works. I might stumble a little because stigmatism. My eyes are, it's fine for walking around, but when I'm reading, it's like a little blurry. But yeah. In any case, let's go ahead and get started. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shinryu Suzuki has absolutely been sending me on an existential crisis spiral. Like, if you've ever had that feeling when you read something or hear something and it completely makes you go into like a rabbit hole spiral of, I feel like existential crisis is such a grandiose term, but honestly, that's what it feels like. Every single realization from thinking entirely too much about this book, how it relates to me, how I relate to the world, how I relate to myself. Like, everything feels good, right? But like, then all of a sudden I'll think of something and just start crying. So I've been doing a lot of crying, like energetic purging crying. Not like I'm sad crying, but it's been wild. Being human is so strange. So this segment that we're going into tonight is called Mistakes in Practice. It's a little spicy. It is when your practice is rather greedy that you become discouraged with it. So you should be grateful that you have a sign or warning signal to show you the weak point in your practice. There are several poor ways of practice that you should understand. Usually, when you practice Zazen, you become very idealistic, and you set up an ideal or goal which you strive to attain and fulfill. But, as I have often said, this is absurd. When you are idealistic, you have some gaining idea within yourself. By the time you attain your ideal or goal, your gaining ideal will create another ideal. So as long as your practice is based on a gaining idea and you practice Zazen in an idealistic way, you will have no time actually to attain your ideal. Moreover, you will be sacrificing the meat of your practice because your attainment is always ahead. You will always be sacrificing yourself now for some ideal in the future. You end up with nothing. This is absurd. It is not adequate practice at all. But even worse than this idealistic attitude is to practice Zazen in competition with someone else. This is a poor, shabby kind of practice. So this gaining ideal is something that I was thinking about a lot today. I saw randomly this, I saw that, well, not randomly, my TikTok feed is honestly really good algorithm, but has a lot of self-improvement stuff that comes through it, which is nice. I mean, it's tailored to what I want to learn more about, but it was a video about Neville Goddard's ideas, and I had never heard of Neville Goddard. He never sunk into my mind at all if I had heard of him before. And it was talking about assuming your wish fulfilled in manifestation, right? I feel like Zazen, enlightenment, and manifestation all kind of go hand in hand. And it was talking about how when you put something out into the universe, you just assume that it's going to happen, right? Like, that's where a lot of people run into blocks as far as manifestation. And I feel like it's the same thing with meditation. It's like you go in without trying to grasp onto it. And after I watched this video, I had such a light bulb moment that surrender and let go in my life has been super difficult, because I have never truly been able to surrender and trust not only others, but myself, because the environment that I grew up in was not something that I could trust, right? So in the back of my mind, even though, I sit, I've been working on my intuition a lot, trying to kind of trust those intuitive nudges that I'm getting to move in one direction or another, and following that, because every time I have been able to, my life has been really great. It's been very happy. But I realized that in the back of my mind, I'm treating the universe like it's my parents. Either not getting my needs met because of neglect, or because of one of their many mental health issues, unprocessed wounds. I was never reliably able to get my needs met, even with the smallest things as far as care, concern, love, getting rides to track practice, or even when things were promised at the last minute, having those promises reneged on for seemingly no good reason, right? Having to have 2 and 3 different backup plans for everything, because you knew that even on the smallest thing, whether it was, I had a hard day and I need to talk to someone, or, I'm going to prom and I'm letting you know X amount of months in advance, so that you can help me plan. Or, you know, I worked all through high school. I had to. But, like, you know, I'm letting you know the beginning of the school year, like, hey, prom's coming up this year. Like, I can do this myself, but it would be nice if you could help out, because I'm graduating this year. I'm kind of trying to save up for whatever comes next, you know? Having to have 2 or 3 backup plans, having to hide things. Wow. Because I was not able to just let go. And the universe isn't like that, right? The universe gives you whatever you believe, whatever you find vibrationally aligned with. And I mean, I've manifested tons of random stuff, like cars, trips, people, jobs, just, you know, I'll put it out there and say, oh yeah, you know, this would be nice, yada, yada, yada. And then just kind of let the idea slip out of my head. And then all of a sudden, boom, surprise, it's at my doorstep. Or boom, perfect timing. Like this worked out and I got exactly what I wanted. Oh man, I forgot. Like I literally just took down a vision board from that I started at the beginning of, I made it at the end of 2021 at the end of 2022. I'm forgetting what year it is. At the end of 2022 for 2023. And when I looked, I saw that everything lined up. Everything lined up. It's like, it was wild. Even down to like my strength training goals that I put on there. Boxing, because fight training was something that I really wanted to kind of peek into and get more serious about. I got a job at a boxing gym, like out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere. But yeah, like manifestation works, but whenever I am trying to manifest something that I actually would want, you know, or need, it doesn't come through. And it's because inherently I feel like my needs aren't worthy of being met. And Zen is the same thing. That goal, that ideal. I feel like I went off the rails, really went off the rails a little bit with that one. But in any case, that gaining idea, that grasping, apparently does not work in Zen practice, just like it doesn't work in manifestation. Go off on the rails here. But yeah, I like to share things that have popped up in my life recently, or realizations that I've come to, because I feel like if you're sitting here listening to me read a bedtime story about Zen meditation or the spirit of intimacy or the alchemist or whatever, I think we might be digging into where is it? Ramdas next. That would be really fun to dig into next. Then maybe there are some roadblocks that you've had along your way, and thinking about how childhood relates to how much we are even able to trust in ourselves and trust in Creator is important and might be able to help someone. It's not for nothing, I guess. Our Soto way puts an emphasis on shikantasa, or just sitting. Actually, we do not have any particular name for our practice. When we practice Zazen, we just practice it. And whether we find joy in our practice or not, we just do it. Even though we are sleepy and we are tired of practicing Zazen, of repeating the same thing day after day, even so we continue our practice. Whether or not someone encourages our practice, we just do it. Even when you practice Zazen alone, without a teacher, I think that you will find some way to tell whether your practice is adequate or not. When you are tired of sitting or when you are disgusted with your practice, you should recognize this as a warning signal. You become discouraged with your practice when your practice has been idealistic. You have some gaining idea in your practice, and it is not pure enough. It is when your practice is rather greedy that you become discouraged with it. So you should be grateful that you have a sign or warning signal to show you the weak point in your practice. At that time, forgetting all about your mistake and renewing your way, you can resume your original practice. This is a very important point. So as long as you continue your practice, you are quite safe. But as it is very difficult to continue, you must find some way to encourage yourself, as it is hard to encourage yourself without becoming involved in some poor kind of practice. To continue our pure practice by yourself may be rather difficult. This is why we have a teacher. With your teacher, you will correct your practice. Of course, you will have a very hard time with him, but even so, you will always be safe from wrong practice. Most Zen Buddhist priests have a difficult time with their masters. When they talk about the difficulties, you may think that without this kind of hardship, you cannot practice Zazen, but this is not true. Whether you have difficulties in your practice or not, as long as you continue it, you have pure practice in its true sense. Even when you are not aware of it, you have it. So Dogen Zenji said, do not think you will necessarily be aware of your own enlightenment. Whether or not you are aware of it, you have your own true enlightenment within your practice. Another mistake will be to practice for the sake of the joy you find in it. Actually, when your practice is involved in a feeling of joy, it is not in very good shape either. Of course, this is not poor practice, but compared to the true practice is not so good. In Hinayana Buddhism, practice is classified in 4 ways. The best way is to just do it without having any joy in it, not even spiritual joy. This way is just doing it, forgetting your physical and mental feeling, forgetting about yourself and your practice. This is the 4th stage, or the highest stage. The next highest stage is to have just physical joy in your practice. At this stage, you will find some pleasure in practice, and you will practice because of the pleasure you find in it. In the 2nd stage, you have both mental and physical joy or good feeling. These 2 middle stages are stages in which you practice Zazen because you feel good in your practice. The 1st stage is when you have no thinking and no curiosity in your practice. These 4 stages also apply to our Mahayana practice, and the highest is to just practice it. You know, I saw this YouTube short, and Andrew Humberman, was talking about the anterior anterior cortex. I'm forgetting the middle word, but it's a part of the brain, the anterior blank cortex. If I can find it again, I should be able to. It was a short there. But he was talking about how it's a part of your brain that essentially is the will to push forward and the will to live, essentially. as humans, we are supposed to do hard things. It kind of cycles back to, I was talking about the Stoics and how, the philosophers of old just did hard things because it helped them increase their mental. But by doing things that you do not want to do, not from like a boundary pushing or disrespectful thing, but like getting up at 5 a.m., right? Or working out really hard, pushing for that last rep, right? Getting all your work done when, it's on your to-do list before you try and decide to go veg out in front of the television, whatever it be. By doing those things that you don't like, it causes this portion of your brain to increase in size, and actually it makes, I don't want to mess this up, I literally just saw this today, it makes it easier for you to not only do hard things, but gives you more, I guess, satisfaction in life. So we're supposed to do the hard things, and we're supposed to grow, and we're supposed to learn, and all of that. I know I'm explaining this horribly, but if I can find that clip, I'll put it up. I kind of want to find it right now, but I'm going to resist that urge. If you find some difficulty in your practice, that is the warning that you might have some wrong idea. So you have to be careful, but do not give up your practice. Continue it, knowing your weakness. Here there is no gaining idea. Here there is no fixed idea of attainment. You do not say this is enlightenment or that is not right practice, even in wrong practice. When you realize it and continue, there is right practice. Our practice cannot be perfect, but without being discouraged by this, we should continue it. This is the secret of practice. And if you want to find some encouragement in your discouragement, getting tired of practice is itself the encouragement. You encourage yourself when you get tired of it, when you do not want to do it. That is the warning signal. It's like having a toothache when your teeth are not so good. When you feel some pain in your teeth, you go to the dentist. That is our way. The cause of conflict is some fixed idea or one-sided idea. When everyone knows the value of pure practice, we will have little conflict in our world. This is the secret of our practice and Dogen Zenji's way. Dogen repeats this point in his book, Shobogenzo, a treasury of the true Dharma. If you understand the cause of conflict as some fixed or one-sided idea, you can find meaning in various practices without being caught by any of them. If you do not realize this point, you will be easily caught by some particular way, and you will say, this is enlightenment, this is perfect practice, this is our way. The rest of the ways are not perfect. This is the best way. This is a big mistake. There is no particular way in true practice. You should find your own way, and you should know what kind of practice you have right now. Knowing both the advantages and disadvantages of some special practice, you can practice that special way without danger. But if you have a one-sided attitude, you will ignore the disadvantage of the practice, emphasizing only its good part. Eventually, you will discover the worst side of the practice and become discouraged when it is too late. This is silly. We should be grateful that the ancient teachers point out this mistake. So I'm gonna go flip on my heater really quickly. It's like 20 degrees tonight, and my apartment heater for some reason is, I can't hear it kicking on. It's been on the wall for a little bit. But I can't hear it kicking on at all, and it's really cold in here. So, hold on. Alright, so you might be able to pick up the heater in the background, but honestly, it's in the 20s tonight, and I think tomorrow it's supposed to be something ridiculous, like 18 degrees. So, really cold. I really wish that I had like a chubby bunny to snuggle with. Ooh. Limiting your activity. Usually, when someone believes in a particular religion, his attitude becomes more and more a sharp angle pointing away from himself. In our way, the point of the angle is always toward ourselves. I'm going to reread that here. Limiting your activity. Usually, when someone believes in a particular religion, his attitude becomes more and more a sharp angle pointing away from himself. In our way, the point of the angle is always toward ourselves. Inward, right? In our practice, we have no particular purpose or goal, nor any special object of worship. In this respect, our practice is somewhat different from the usual religious practices. Joshu, a great Chinese Zen master, said, "A clay Buddha cannot cross water. A bronze Buddha cannot get through a furnace. A wooden Buddha cannot get through fire. Whatever it is, if your practice is directed towards some particular object, such as a clay, bronze, or wooden Buddha, it will not always work." So as long as you have some particular goal in your practice, that practice will not help you completely. It may help as long as you are directed towards that goal, but when you resume everyday life, it will not work. You may think that if there is no purpose or goal in our practice, we will not know what to do. But there is a way. The way to practice without having any goal is to limit your activity, or to be concentrated on what you are doing in the moment. Instead of having some particular object in mind, you should limit your activity. When your mind is wandering about everywhere, you have no chance to express yourself. But if you limit your activity to what you can do just now, in this moment, then you can express fully your true nature, which is the universal Buddha nature. This is our way. When we practice Zazen, we limit our activity to the smallest extent, just keeping the right posture and being concentrated on sitting is how we express the universal nature. Then we become Buddha, and we express Buddha nature. So instead of having some object of worship, we just concentrate on the activity which we do in each moment. When you bow, you should just bow. When you sit, you should just sit. When you eat, you should just eat. If you do this, the universal nature is there. In Japanese, we call it ichigyo zamai, or one act samadhi. Samai, or samadhi, is concentration. Ichigyo is one practice. I think some of you who practice Zazen here may believe in some other religion, but I do not mind. Our practice has nothing to do with some particular religious belief, and for you there is no need to hesitate to practice our way, because it has nothing to do with Christianity or Shintoism or Hinduism. Our practice is for everyone. Usually, when someone believes in a particular religion, his attitude becomes more and more a sharp angle pointing away from himself. But our way is not like this. In our way, the point of the sharp angle is always toward ourselves, not away from ourselves. So there is no need to worry about the difference between Buddhism and the religion you may believe in. Joshu's statement about the different Buddhas concerns those who will direct their practice towards some particular Buddha. One kind of Buddha will not serve your purpose completely. You will have to throw it away sometime, or at least ignore it. But if you understand the secret of our practice, wherever you go, you yourself are boss. No matter what the situation, you cannot neglect Buddha, because you yourself are Buddha. Only this Buddha will help you completely. Study yourself. I'm already starting to get a little in my chest. Study yourself. Am I going to be spiraling out again tonight? Honestly, I always complain about all the self-work that I've been doing. It's been six years of minor self-work, just kind of getting my health together, like kind of getting minor things under control. And then it's been maybe after that 3 years of moderate self-work, which has been more meditation, more spirituality, taking time in celibacy, taking time in figuring out what I really need and want from myself and my interpersonal relationships. And then it's been 3 years, 6, 3, and 3 years of super, like, ridiculously intense work from like cognitive processing therapy, EMDR, regular therapy, digging deeper into spirit. Like, it's been wild. And I always kind of joke around like it's the worst thing in the entire world, but it's not. I love myself more today than I have in my entire life. And it just keeps getting better and calmer. I go with the flow more. It's nice. Going with the flow more. I don't do a lot of the, I'm not perfect. Of course, nobody is, but I'm working through so many things. Like, I think I'm already a person that I'm quite proud of because I've come a long way. But I think within the next year or two, like, not only am I going to be proud of myself, but I feel like I might really be able to unconditionally love myself. Which I guess is a side effect of all of this shit, right? But steady yourself. Already starting to get that trigger. To have some deep feeling about Buddhism is not the point. We just do what we should do, like eating supper or going to bed. This is Buddhism. The purpose of studying Buddhism is not to study Buddhism, but to study ourselves. It is impossible to study ourselves without some teaching. If you want to know what water is, you need science, and the scientist needs a laboratory. In the laboratory, there are various ways in which to study what water is. Thus, it is possible to know what kind of elements water has, the various forms it takes, and its nature. But it is impossible thereby to know water in itself. It is the same thing with us. We need some teaching, but just by studying the teaching alone, it is impossible to know what I, in myself, am. I'm going to reread that sentence, just to really let it sink in here. We need some teaching, but just by studying the teaching alone, it is impossible to know what I, in myself, am. Through the teaching, we may understand our human nature, but the teaching is not we ourselves. It is some It is some explanation of ourselves. So if you are attached to the teaching or to the teacher, that is a big mistake. The moment you need a teacher, you should leave the teacher and you should be independent. You need a teacher so that you can become independent. If you are not attached to him, the teacher will show you the way to yourself. You have a teacher for yourself, not for the teacher. Rinzai, an early Chinese Zen master, analyzed how to teach his disciples in 4 ways. Sometimes he talked about the disciple himself. Sometimes he talked about the teaching itself. Sometimes he gave an interpretation of the disciple or the teaching. And finally, sometimes he did not give any instruction at all to his disciples. He knew that even without being given any instruction, a student is a student. Strictly speaking, there is no need to teach the student, because the student himself is Buddha, even though he may not be aware of it, and even though he is aware of his true nature. If he is attached to this awareness, that is already wrong. When he is not aware of it, he has everything, but when he becomes aware of it, he thinks what he is aware of is himself, which is a big mistake. So let me run this back here. When he is not aware of it, he has everything. But when he becomes aware of it, he thinks that what he is aware of is himself, which is a big mistake. When you do not hear anything from the teacher, but just sit, this is called teaching without teaching. But sometimes this is not sufficient, so we listen to lectures and have discussions. But we should remember that the purpose of practice in a particular place is to study ourselves, To be independent, we study. Like the scientist, we have to have some means by which to study. We need a teacher because it is impossible to study ourselves by ourselves. But you should not make a mistake. You should not take what you have learned with a teacher for you yourself. The study you make with your teacher is a part of your everyday life, a part of your incessant activity. In this sense, there is no difference between the practice and the activity you have in everyday life. So to find the meaning of your life in the Zendo is to find the meaning of your everyday activity. To be aware of the meaning of your life, you practice Zazen. When I was at IAG monastery, when I was at AA, why that's so funny to me. When I was at IAG, monastery. When I was at IAG monastery in Japan, everyone was just doing what he should do. That is all. It is the same as waking up in the morning. We have to get up. At IAG monastery, when we had to sit, we sat. When we had to bow to Buddha, we bowed to Buddha. That is all. And when we were practicing, we did not feel anything special. We did not even feel that we were leading a monastic life. Why are these M words getting so weird with me right now? A monastic life. For us, the monastic life was the usual life, and the people who came from the city were unusual people. When we saw them, we felt, oh, some unusual people have come. But once I had left IAG, it had been away for some time. Coming back was different. I heard the various sounds of practice, the bells and the monks reciting the sutra, and I had a deep feeling. There were tears flowing out of my eyes, nose, and mouth. It is the people who are outside of the monastery who feel its atmosphere. Those who are practicing actually do not feel anything. I think this is true for everything. When we hear the sound of the pine trees on a windy day, perhaps the wind is just blowing, and the pine tree is just standing in the wind. That is all that they are doing. But the people who listen to the wind and the tree will write a poem or will feel something unusual. That is, I think, the way everything is. So to feel something about Buddhism is not the main point. Whether that feeling is good or bad is out of the question. We do not mind whatever it is. Buddhism is not good or bad. We are doing what we should do. That is Buddhism. Of course, some encouragement is necessary, but that encouragement is just encouragement. It is not the true purpose of practice. It is just medicine. When we become discouraged, we want some medicine. When we are in good spirits, we do not need any medicine. You should not mistake medicine for food. Sometimes medicine is necessary, but it should not become our food. Being addicted to encouragement, huh? Is that what this is? Is that what this is? So, of Rinzai's 4-way of practice, The perfect one is not to give any student any interpretation of himself, nor to give him any encouragement. If we think of ourselves as our bodies, the teaching then may be our clothing. Sorry, I find that so funny. It's a Kill Bill, when, or Fight Club too. When he left Big Bob on the steps, an angel face. Oh my gosh. This is one of those movies that's all scrambled up in my head a little bit. But they would leave them on the front of the porch for 3 days with no encouragement, actively discouraging to see how badly they wanted it. Or Kill Bill. Bo! She was punching through the... I never want to watch movies for some reason. It's like, I like the idea of movies, but I really don't have, not the attention span. I don't really give a shit about them anymore. Like I'll start movies. I think the last movie that I watched was Secretary. And I've seen that movie a million bajillion times. I absolutely adore it. And the James Spader, Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's pretty spicy, I guess. Moderately, it's pretty spicy. It's like I think I can't remember if it was someone that said it that was talking about it, or if it was a way that it was rebranded, but it was the tagline or whatever the person said or whatever was the original Mr. Gray. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But one of my favorite movies, and I was like, oh man, I really want to see this movie again. I haven't watched it in years. And I started watching it, and I enjoyed it well enough. But I got halfway through it, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go to bed now. I like this movie, but I'm done. I've been splitting my movies into parts lately. I'll watch, 30 minutes to an hour at a time. I don't know, something about syncing. Oh. I don't know. I don't want to say that maybe I was just severely depressed before, but I was the person that would, 30 Rock was my thing. I watched The Office or 30 Rock over and over and over again, episode after episode, revisit movies that I felt were nostalgic. And I've been far more interested in books lately. I mean, I've always been a reader, but something about words on the page, And I've tried Audible. Can't really do Audible. I tried doing the Kindle thing, reading on a Kindle. I didn't like that. I like the pages. But I'm going off the rails. Going off the rails right now. I've been very talkative today. I went out for coffee with one of my former coworkers today, and we were literally just in the coffee shop talking for 2 hours. I don't talk to anybody that long, but I've been super talkative today, so you guys are having to suffer through all of my rambles. In any case, whoa! Check out Secretary. Fantastic movie. We think of ourselves as our bodies. Oh, here, I'll start this paragraph over here. So, of Rinzai's 4 ways of practice, the perfect one is not to give a student any interpretation of himself, nor to give him any encouragement. If we think of ourselves as our bodies, the teaching then may become our clothing. Sometimes we talk about our clothing, sometimes we talk about our body, but neither body nor clothing is actually we ourselves. We ourselves are the big activity. We are just expressing the smallest particle of the big activity. That is all. So, it is all right to talk about ourselves, but actually, there is no need to do so. Before we open our mouths, we are already expressing the big existence, including ourselves. So the purpose of talking about ourselves is to correct the misunderstanding we have when we are attached to any particular temporal form or color of the big activity. It is necessary to talk about what our body is and what our activity is so that we may not make any mistake about them. So to talk about ourselves is actually to forget about ourselves. Dogen Zenji said, to study Buddhism is to study ourselves. To study ourselves is to forget ourselves. When you become attached to a temporal expression of your true nature, it is necessary to talk about Buddhism, or else you will think the temporal expression is it. But this particular expression of it is not it, and yet at the same time, it is it. For a while, this is it. For the smallest particle of time, this is it. But it is not always so. The very next instant, it is not so. Thus, this is not it. So that you will realize this fact, it is necessary to study Buddhism. But the purpose of studying Buddhism is to study ourselves and to forget ourselves. When we forget ourselves, we are the true activity of the big existence, or reality itself. When we realize this fact, there is no problem whatsoever in this world, and we can enjoy our life without feeling any difficulties. The purpose of our practice is to be aware of this fact. So it's so interesting. The more I think about Buddhism as a concept, the more, this is going to sound so strange, the more I believe that I feel like it's so like last century, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like as we move into this Aquarian age, while it is very much important to be able to shed those things that we are super attached to, right? Shed the idea of our, what we do for a living, or what color our hair is, being ourself, right? Because that's not ourself at all. But I think the idea of the concept of whittling yourself down to a point where essentially you are nothing, that doesn't resonate with me so much anymore. I feel like as a collective, what we're moving into is something so much greater. And maybe it is a gross misinterpretation on my part. But there is the concept that, Buddha is inside of everyone. Everyone has Buddha nature. Just like the idea that everyone is able to kind of tap into that Christ consciousness. It's all the same, but I think I look at it from the other side of the tunnel. When reading about Buddhism, to me, it is very calming. And maybe it's just the choice of words a lot of the time. It makes me think that it's moving in a direction of, or kind of guiding in a direction of, we are nothing, right? Not in a depressive, nihilistic way, but we are nothing. And I feel like we are absolutely everything. And I feel like in order to feel like everything, you have to realize that you are so unimportant and you are absolutely nothing special, because everyone is everything. But when I sit, I don't feel I feel empty, my mind is empty, but I feel full. It's like love is there to an almost overwhelming point. Practicing yoga, when I practice yoga in a group, in a class, I feel the energy of everybody else in the room. It's like we're all exchanging energy, and it feels like a tornado of love, a tornado of good energy. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about my last class that I led. It was the cutest thing in the world. It was a couple who was in my class, and at my studio during final resting pose shavasana, you go around and we fan everyone. And when I was walking around and doing my fan thing, they were in shavasana holding hands, and I swear to you, I almost burst into tears right in that moment. It was just too much love. It was too beautiful. And right now I'm thinking of the Dead Cab for Cutie song, I Will Follow You Into the Dark. It's it was that moment. It was that I will follow you into the dark moment. And I was just oh, universe, give me some of that, please. I want to hold hands with somebody during shavasana. But it's not too much to ask. But yeah, it's that empty calmness, that peace. When I'm personally at peace, it feels like an explosion of joy. Joy is peaceful. It's like me just walking around like, and I have a smile on my face and I just can't get rid of it. And it's just like this joy that's like pumping up, and I don't know, like, and it's calm. It's not joy in a frantic way, which is so strange. It's maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my wild mind. But in a way, I think that, you know, Buddhism, within this next century, this next age, I feel like it's going to get reimagined, tweaked. I see the direction that a lot of other very people who do a lot of study, spiritual people, and I feel like it's different. I feel like we are very much coming out of a dark ages mindset period in our history, and it's palpable. The energy that's on the horizon, the amalgamation of religions, spiritual practice, and like just that feeling of like hive mind, the way that so many of us are able to energetically communicate with each other. It feels like within the next century, like a lot of these religions that have held true, a lot of these spiritual practices that have held true for hundreds of years are going to be rewritten. That feels very controversial to say. But I feel like as humans, we are different than the humans that came before us. This generation moving, my generation, the, millennials, some of the Gen Xers, like, I kind of feel it in some of them too. Some boomers, like I feel it in them too. But it's just different. The feeling I get from people is different. The energy from people is different. And when I look at my kids and their friends and the things that like young people create right now, the intensity and also exploding joy in the generations younger than me, I look at them and I'm just like, your brain don't work the same as my brain. And my brain doesn't work the same as my parents' generation's brain. And you can sit there and say that it's technological advances or whatever, but we've evolved. And something is different. It's 100% different. You can tell the way that people compute. And it's so funny, like, I'm probably just gonna keep going on with this and maybe not even finish this next little portion. But, with all of the, I love TikTok. It is absolutely fantastic. It's hive mind. But with the way that things are getting mashed together, the way that you know, there's all that stuff. Everyone's like, I think that, you know, I think I'm on the spectrum. I think I'm autistic. I think that I'm ADHD. And it's like that's everybody now, you know? Everybody that I meet is on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form. ADHD, you know, autism, ADHD, like a mixture of both. And then I notice a lot of these tendencies in myself too. And it's just like, well, what if that's just the next incarnation, the next generation of humans? I feel like by putting a label on it, it actually discredits it, but these kids nowadays, like, their brains work like supercomputers. Out the freaking womb, their brains are like supercomputers. It is absolutely insane. And, you know, I'm not that person to, you know, say that that's me to an extent, but I do notice how, like, my brain works differently than other people's. It's like there's a million different strings that are connecting at any given time. And the younger generation, it's even more so. And, you know, there are all the jokes that people say, oh, you know, my teenager can, you know, do this and, you know, play a concerto and this and that, and stand up for themselves and blah, 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 but they can't order water at a restaurant. And I don't think it's them. I think it's because interacting with people with old energy is painful. It's soul-sucking. It's absolutely soul-sucking. And I feel like where we're going as a society, as a collective, it's a different place. It's very problematic, I guess, in the day-to-day. Like, I always think of, like, my friends who work in corporate environments that are, you know, high up on the corporate ladder or whatever, and the amount of faking that you have to go through to be considered worthy or get your ideas heard is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, hey, Jimmy. How's it going? How's the wife? How's the kid? Like, I don't give a shit how Jimmy's wife is doing. And a lot of people don't. But for them, that's just a regular, everyday part of existence. And it's easy to do. And it's like, it pains me to do things like that. And it's funny, like, at my studio, I talk to every person like they're all the same, you know? It's something that I've done since I was very small, and I push that away, conform to try and, like, fit in a box in order to, you know, be able to hold down jobs and go to school and whatnot. But there's just a dam that broke, and I can't do that shit anymore. I talk to everybody the same, and it catches people off guard in a way, and it pisses people off, which I think is so strange to me. Like, it's it's so strange to me. And as I do that to people and connect in a way that is, you know, authentically me, I don't care if you're, you know, Jim the millionaire or, you know, my homie John that hangs out outside the 7-Eleven. Like, I talk to you the same. If your idea is valuable, I tell you. Like, oh man, that's a fantastic idea. I really love that. I've got to look into that more. You're a fascinating person. Like, I love talking to you. And if someone just doesn't, like, if I think that someone has nothing interesting to say, I treat them like they have nothing interesting to say, regardless of how pretty they are, how much money they make. And I feel like that makes people really uncomfortable. But the kids, they do it a lot. My daughter, she's top notch with that. Ever since she was small, it's like, I remember we used to go out places, and you know how people go up to kids and, hey, how's it going, sweetie? She would just look at them and not talk to them if she didn't like somebody's vibe. Then there were people that she absolutely adored, and I would see her warm up and open up to them. You know, when grown-ups would come up and they'd, hey, little girl, you know, some grown-ups will try and like pat kids' heads or like offer them hugs, and she would like back up. Like, damn, like you really don't care, huh? Like, you really don't give a shit. She would look grown-ups dead in their face and just be like, don't touch me. Don't talk to me. I don't like that. Like, she had better boundaries than I did at that time when she was 3. But, man, and then like, I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with like where I'm obsessed with the idea that this is going to be not only an unrecognizable world, but a much better world very, very soon. And people in my generation or older, they, you know, talking to them, I say it all the time. I say, y'all are sleeping on and making fun of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, but like, I don't think you understand the brain power, the potential, the creativity that's coming out of these people. Like, I'm thinking about the music that's been coming out lately, and it just sounds otherworldly. Like, it really, like, it sounds like it hits your soul in a way that's just so different. But it's taking the concepts that older musicians have and the styles of older musicians and turning it into something completely different. It's like, I remember when I was in my teens and Pharrell like started getting a lot of traction. Like, Nerd was getting big. Like, that's, you know, that was, I remember, oh my gosh, back to prom. Why am I thinking about prom again? But I remember being in the limo on the way. I can't remember if it was junior or senior prom. And one of the guys that was in the limo, he actually makes music now, really good music. I can't remember what his rap name is. But Chris S. Big Sherm. But he was like, he was quoting lyrics from this Nerd song, Tape You. And when we were in the limo and like, we were all like listening to it, I'm just like, man, like when I heard Nerd for the first time, I was like, this is gonna change. This is gonna entirely change music. hearing the clips for the first time, I was like, this is going to change music forever. Because those super intricately layered beats, were mind-blowing. And the stuff that people are doing now, like there's this artist, Mr. Floyd Larry, that I am totally in love with the way he does his music. Because essentially it's shoegaze, right? It's shoegaze, that like moody kind of Deftones-esque, like kind of like Modest Mouse with like, but like an octave lower, not post float on Modest Mouse, but like the early stuff, with like, you know, but an octave lower. It's like that, just like moody, deep, floating in space type of sound. But he does these lives where he gets on and he'll just vibe, and it's like, it hits your soul in a way that I haven't felt in a long time with music. It's like all of these kids that are coming up with these crazy mashups. Like, if you really want to go wild, I think it's like this mashup that's been kind of circulating. Like, people have been just redoing it a lot on the interwebs, but it is called, oh my god, why is the wrong Deftones song getting into my head right now? I'm thinking Change in the House of the Flies. It is definitely My Own Bees. That's what it is. My Own Bees. And it's wild, but it's like, who thinks to mash up My Own Summer and Bees in the Trap? I mean, it seems so simplistic, but the way that it like strokes my brain is absolutely ridiculous. Those are like my two favorite songs. I have a million favorite songs, but those are like my two favorite songs mashed together in one song. Like, who even does that? With Nicki Minaj, like, it's absolutely insane. You know, it's the experimental music that comes out, and I mean, honestly, I know that it's like a laughable point for a lot of people, but like, have you seen Skibbidi Toilet? Like, my kids are obsessed with that. It's when that whole "you're so skibbity, you're so fantax," when that started going around, that song, I was like, what the hell is Skibbidi? So I looked up what Skibbidi Toilet was, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's really good. It's really good. The plot evolution is really good. And it's not like, it's wild. It's like, it's wild. And it's just so weird to think that you literally take, it wasn't Promiscuous Girl. When you see us in the club, we'll be acting real nice. When you see us on the floor, you'll be rocking all night. What song is that? What's that called? No, Promiscuous Girl. Promiscuous Girl. Whatever you want. That's two different songs, right? Is that two different songs? When you see us in the club, we'll be real nice. Did Nelly Furtado and Timberland make more than one song together? I don't know. I used to really be a Timberland fan. He was another one with those layered beats. Like, yeah. But I don't know. It's like something, he's fallen out of favor inside of my brain. I for some reason I can't, like it's just something that my brain really shed. Something that I really didn't feel like I need to hold on to. But yeah, to take that song and turn it into something absolutely insane. And I've had my debates with my kids about this because there's all of these like origin stories and this lore about Skibbidi Toilet like floating around on the internet. And my daughter goes, you know, I think, here I am talking about Skibbidi fucking Toilet. And she said, I think when his head went into the toilet that he's actually dying and the headphones are dying, and that's why it starts going slow, because he's dying and this universe in this war is something that he's imagining because he's dying. And I was like, wow, that's really deep. But then that makes so much sense, and why the skibbidi bop bop yeah skibbidi bop bop yeah. And then they heard the actual song. It came on, and they were like, "Oh, this is the Skibbidi Toilet song." And I'm just, anyways. But the creativity that is coming out of people right now is absolutely insane. It's otherworldly, and whereas before, I feel like a lot of the creative things that we saw felt very manufactured, but there's an authenticity with the art that I've been seeing lately, the art, the performances, skits, acting, video editing, music, shorts, all of it just seems so next level. Huh. In any case, let me see how long I've been yapping here. Oh gosh. This live is so long for no reason. Absolutely no reason. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and cut this here. I'll probably post this here as a reel, but I'll slice it up to kind of make it more palatable in other socials. But in any case, Zen mind, beginner's mind, whole lot of rambling. Yeah. Forgot that tonight's the new moon. New moon in Capricorn. Sorry, the new moon got me. Moon phases have a fucking chokehold on me. Anyways, I love you. Thank you for listening to my rambles, listening to a little bit of this bedtime story. And I promise tomorrow night I'll be good and read more and yap less. In any case, I love opinions. As you can tell, I have a lot of opinions. So if you have anything said, hit me up. I would love to hear them. I love things that can twist and change my perspective, and even those things that validate my own perspective. In any case, yeah, much love. Happy new moon in Capricorn. Stay blessed.